Please be seated. I'll ask our jurors again, did you follow my instructions, not talk about the case among yourselves with anybody else or look up any of the people or places involved? Even if you did so inadvertently, now would be the time to raise your hand and let me know. For the record, no jurors lifted their hand. State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Van Waus, just before the break, you were showing the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the hammer, which is State's Exhibit number 12. I want to now show you what's been marked for identification as State's 13. And show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 13. Did you do swabs of the hammer?
Yes, I did.
And what is a swab of the hammer? When I say that, what am I talking about?
So when you swab something, you use 2 sterile cotton tip swabs, which kind of look like Q-tips, and we wet them with sterile water to absorb DNA. This could be blood DNA, touch DNA. I could be looking for cells, any type of DNA on a surface, and I just rub those cotton tipped swabs over the object, and then I put them in a box and I seal them until they can be analyzed.
And in this case, did you do swabbings of the hammer that was collected that we saw in State's Exhibit number 12?
Yes, I did.
Let me just jump to State's Exhibit number 14. State's Exhibit number 14. What is State's Exhibit 14?
This is Lee County Sheriff's Office, property number 15P016588, and they are DNA swabs from the hammer at marker 1.
And these are the swabs that you took of the hammer that was found in the residence at 27034 Jarvis Road, the hammer we saw in the photos?
Yes, at marker 1.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit 14.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
And, excuse me. And were those swabs submitted for analysis, for DNA analysis?
Yes, they were.
And did they come back with Theresa Sievers' blood?
Yes, they did.
Was there any other definable DNA or definite DNA found on the hammer?
Not other than Theresa Sievers.
I've also left up there with you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 13. What is State's Exhibit number 13?
This is Lee County Sheriff's Office, property number 15P016586, and this is hair from the hammer at marker 1.
So in the photograph of the hammer that we showed the ladies and gentlemen of the jury earlier, the photograph that had hair wrapped around it, is that the hair that we saw wrapped around the hammer?
Yes, it is.
And is that what's contained in State's Exhibit number 13?
Yes, it is.
Who removed the hair from the hammer?
I did.
And how did you remove the hair from the hammer?
While I was in the lab, I removed the hair from the claws of the hammer and put it into a sterile envelope for separate packaging.
And is that what's in State's Exhibit number 13?
Yes, it is.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit 13.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
Now, did you all, when you were now collecting evidence, because we've talked about the documentation and the assessment, when you were collecting evidence from the kitchen, did there come a time when you vacuumed the area of the kitchen?
Yes, it is. There was, sorry.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what I mean by vacuuming. I have a feeling it's not the vacuuming I do at my house.
It's similar, but we have a forensic vacuum. So this is its own standalone piece of equipment, and it has a hose on it, just like you would vacuum anything else. It suctions, but instead of just vacuuming your floor with it, I have to use a forensic canister. So this canister is sterile. It's a plastic piece that has a filter inside. We connect it to this forensic vacuum, and we use it over a surface, whatever we're trying to look for trace evidence for, and then when we're done taking trace from that section or area, then we take that canister off, and its 2 ends are placed on it so nothing falls out of it, and this is placed inside of a plastic bag, inside of another plastic bag, until analysis can be done.
And when that canister is removed, do you seal it to ensure that it is not Do you seal it?
Yes, it not only has the ends to keep everything inside the canister, but it's also sealed inside 2 plastic bags.
And if you were vacuuming different areas of a crime scene, would you connect a different canister to the forensic vacuum?
Yes, I would.
Now, in this case, did you vacuum the kitchen area of the Jarvis Road residence?
Yes, I did.
And why did you vacuum the kitchen area of the residence?
I was looking for trace evidence, which could be as small as hairs and fibers and anything microscopic. So to collect this evidence, the best way to do it is with a vacuum. So I'm suctioning up all the trace evidence on a surface.
I want to hand you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 15. If you could tell us what State's Exhibit number 15 is.
This is Lee County Sheriff's Office, property number 15P 017057, and this is vacuumings from the kitchen floor.
And what is in State's Exhibit 15? I mean, just what's in it.
There is the canister that I stated that is actually what's holding the trace evidence. There's also 2 end caps that keep everything inside that canister, and then there's a plastic bag inside of the outer evidence plastic bag.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 15.
No objection.
Showed admitted.
Your Honor, I ask if Ms. Van Waus can just hold it up so that the members of the jury can see the canister to which she's referring.
She may.
We also saw in the photographs of the kitchen, or we talked about a phone. Let me hand you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 16 and ask if you can identify it.
Yes.
And what is State's Exhibit number 16?
This is Lee County Sheriff's Office, property number 15P 016374, and this is an Apple iPhone in an OtterBox from marker number 2.
And marker number 2, where was this phone located?
This was on the floor in the kitchen of the residence.
And where was it in relation to Theresa Sievers?
So walking into the kitchen from the laundry room, so you have the family room ahead of you, and that kitchen bar area counter, it was actually in front of that kitchen bar section of that kitchen.
I'm going to ask if you can step down for just a moment, and with a red pen on State's Exhibit number 2, just write the word phone for where the phone was found of Theresa Sievers. I'll hold it up.
Yes, ma'am.
You can just come right down here. I don't think I can hold it that high. If you could just write where, I'll hold it up like this though, if you can write where the phone was found. Thank you. Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 16.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
Now, we saw on the photographs that when you did your documentation of the kitchen that there were receipts on the floor around a wallet.
Correct.
Did you collect those receipts and collect that wallet?
Yes, I did.
I want to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 17 and ask if you can identify it.
Yes.
What is State's Exhibit number 17?
This is Lee County Sheriff's Office, property number 15P 017061, and this is 6 receipts from marker 3.
And those receipts that were from marker 3, were those receipts that were on the floor were on the kitchen floor?
Yes.
And move to introduce State's Exhibit number 17.
Your Honor, 401, 403.
Noted for the record. Overruled. We'll show them admitted.
Did you notice anything significant about one of the receipts?
Yes, I did.
And what did you notice that you found significant about one of the receipts?
This was a receipt from the RSW airport parking.
And did that receipt have a date?
It had an entry date and an exit date as well as times.
And the exit date and time, what do we see on State's Exhibit number 17 for that receipt?
The receipt label or lists the exit time as 6:28:15 at 22:55, which would be 10:55 p.m.
So the first numbers you were giving us, 6:28, was the date?
Correct.
And then again, the exit time that you were reading to us?
22:55, which is 10:55 p.m.
Did you collect all of the photos? Did you collect all the photos? Did you collect all of the evidence that we saw in the photos that was on the floor?
Yes, I did.
And did you also collect evidence from the office?
Yes, I did.
I want to show you what's been marked for identification in State's Exhibit number 18. What is State's Exhibit number 18?
This is Lee County Sheriff's Office property number 15P017416, and this is a shredded document.
Where was that document collected in the Sievers residence?
This was the document that was caught up in the shredder blades of the shredder inside the office.
And when you were using State's Exhibit number 2 earlier and marking where various items were, did you mark the shredder on State's Exhibit number 2?
Yes, I did.
And could you just show the ladies, remind the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where you marked the shredder in the office?
On the diagram, it's labeled as 10L.
How was that document removed from the shredder?
I picked it up.
That works for me. And how was it placed into the evidence bag?
It's placed in, it was not in this total condition when I placed it into the bag, but now it's in a clear evidence bag.
And is this the document that was removed from the shredder that we see, that we saw reflected in State's Exhibit number 2
Yes,
and taken from the office?
yes.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 18 into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
We'll show it admitted.
Now, we saw lots of paper in the office.
Yes.
Did you collect all of that paper we saw in the office?
I didn't collect all of it, but I did collect a lot of it.
And how did you collect that paper and what did you put it in?
I collected it in large plastic totes. Trying to think how to, you know what you store Christmas decorations in, those big plastic totes. I had 4 of them full of documents.
Your Honor, I meant to collect from our clerk earlier, State's Exhibit 19 and 20. My apologies to Ms. Siggs. While Ms. Siggs is looking for that, I will continue. So you collected those documents, and within those bins did you find certain receipts?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you in a minute State's Exhibit number 19.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. We can close them all the way if you want. Is that good for everybody? A little further? Okay, absolutely. Better? Okay, no problem. For the record, we were putting the shades down for the jurors.
I'm going to hand you State's Exhibit, what's been marked for identification, State's Exhibit 19. There are 4 manila folders in it. I'm not going to place them back in the plastic, but hand them to you like this.
Okay.
What is State's Exhibit number 19?
This is Lee County Sheriff's Office property number 19P019494. These are documents removed from bin, and this would be bin number 15P017467, which that number is the original bin that it was removed from.
How many bins of those documents did you remove from the office?
4.
And what do we find in State's Exhibit number 19? Are these documents that were found within the office?
Yes.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 19.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Yes, sir. Ready. State.
Your Honor, may I move to introduce State's Exhibit number, Your Honor, may I walk back up just a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 19. Yes, I know.
Subject to the rulings at sidebar will show 19 admitted. Any previous objections are noted for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Found within State's Exhibit 19 are 4 separate manila envelopes. Are each of those labeled differently?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like you to go through them one by one and just let us know what is contained within each envelope. You don't have to read everything that's in it, but just let us know what's contained within each envelope. So I think taking the envelope that's sitting on top, because it's the way to start, what is that particular manila envelope document labeled as?
There's one thing that's on all 4 labels, and that's the case number, which is CFS number 15-268513. I just won't repeat that 4 times, but I'll read what else is on each of the stickers. So on the first envelope, it's documents removed from 15P017467, and it says binder clip of receipts.
And when you open it, how many receipts do you find inside the envelope?
5.
And where are those receipts from? Just generally. Oh,
Like-
I'm sorry. Whose receipts are they? What store's receipts are they?
They are Walmart receipts.
And if you could put those back in envelope, the first envelope. Now, if you would open the second envelope, but before you do, let us know how it is labeled.
Again, it has the case number, and then it says document removed from 15P017467, green folder of receipts.
And what is contained within that second envelope?
1 Walmart receipt.
And then if you could refer now to the third envelope.
This is, again, by the case number, document removed from 15P017467, paperclip of documents.
And if you would open it and let us know what's contained within that third envelope.
This is a computer-generated letter with the return address as Mark D. Sievers at 27034 Jarvis Road. And it is addressed to Curtis Wayne Wright Jr. at number 5 Basler Drive. And then there's a letter and some handwritten words on the bottom.
And if you would return that to the envelope. And then the fourth envelope you have.
The case number, and then documents removed from 15P017467, paperclip of documents.
And what's contained within that fourth envelope?
There are 3 Jefferson County, Missouri real estate tax documents, as well as another Jefferson County real estate document. It's just different than the first 3.
And are those receipts for the payment of property taxes for a particular piece of property in Jefferson County?
I'm just going to verify that it's all the same address. Yes, it is, all the same address.
Thank you very much. Now, those documents came from a particular bin of documents that were collected from the office found on Jarvis
You can finish your question.
Road,
Yes.
27034.
Objection leading.
Overruled. You can answer, ma'am.
Yes, it was.
Were any of the documents that were contained in State's Exhibit number 19, were they found anywhere in the house besides the office?
No, they were collected from the office.
Now, I want to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 20. It was one envelope that was in a plastic bag. What is State's Exhibit number 20?
This is Lee County Sheriff's Office property number 19P019495, and this is document removed from bin. The bin was labeled 15P017473.
Was that a different bin than the bin you just referred to for the other documents?
Yes.
And was this a document found within the office?
Yes, it was.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 20.
Your Honor, objection 401, 403, 802.
On both sides approach.
Thank you.
Ready? We'll show all objections noted for the record, and we'll show number 20 admitted. State.
Thank you, Your Honor. And what is contained within the envelope that is State's Exhibit number 20?
This is a Walmart Vision Center. It looks to be a receipt, and it says lab copy.
And that was found within the office in the Jarvis residence, within Mark Sievers' within that office area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. If you could put that back in the envelope. Now, during your, let me just go back for a minute because we've talked about, well, let's continue with collection. Did you swab or fingerprint the residents of 27034 Jarvis Road?
I did both.
And where did you take fingerprints? generally?
A lot of different places. The best way to explain it is mostly touched items. You know, things that when you're walking through a house you touch: light switches, door handles, knobs, countertops, walls, things that are easily accessible while walking through a residence.
I want to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 6D. Let me show that to you. First of all, what is State's Exhibit 6D?
This is a photograph I took of a section of the laundry room in the residence.
Now, was this photo taken when you did your initial documentation?
No, it was not.
What had occurred between your initial documentation and when this photo was taken?
I had done processing on the residence.
And in this photo, can we see what the fingerprint processing would look like?
Yes, you can.
Is that a photo that gives us an accurate sense of what fingerprint dust looks like?
Yes.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit 6D.
No objection.
Who showed admitted? 60?
6, D as in Delta.
6D. Okay, not 6D.
Single
6D.
digit 6, D as in Delta.
Thank you. I don't want to mess my
Permission to
list
publish?
list up. You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm showing you State's Exhibit 6D. Can you show us where in 6D we're seeing the fingerprint dust?
Yeah, I'm going to use the laser pointer. So in this photograph, you can see a laundry tub. There's a black material on the wall above the laundry tub across the entire width of that section of the corner. There's some on the light switch. You can see this is the doorway that goes from the laundry room into the garage. This door has fingerprint powder on it. This door handle has fingerprint powder on it. If we saw the handle of this closet door, it would have fingerprint powder on it. So all the surfaces that I've just pointed out.
Thank you. Did you find any fingerprints that assisted you or assisted Lee County Sheriff's Office in leading to any suspects in this case?
I did not.
We talked about a little bit earlier about a number of safes that were in the master bedroom closet. During your assessment and collection, but during your assessment of the crime scene, did you have occasion to determine whether there was any money within the house, and if so, what the total amount of money within the house was?
Yes.
And so was there money within the house?
Yes, there was.
And how much money was within the house and where was it?
There were multiple locations within the house that there was money, but my total amount that I really counted was from the closet, which was the north closet in the master bedroom, which had the male clothing in it. There was 3 safes with cash in it, and there was also some cash in the office. So when I added it all together, it was just under $50,000.
Thank you. Your Honor, could you give me just a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
The state tenders the witness.
Defense.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
So, Ms. Van Waus, how long have you been a crime scene technician?
I started in the crime scene unit in October 2001. I'm sorry, that was October 2006.
Okay. And do you have any degrees?
Yes.
What's your degree?
I have an associate's degree in crime scene technology from Edison College and a bachelor's degree in criminal forensics from Florida Gulf Coast University.
Okay. And after you graduated from FGCU, did you immediately start at the Sheriff's Department?
I was already working at the Sheriff's Office within the crime scene unit when I got that degree.
Okay. Did they have you undergo any additional training?
Yes.
Like what?
Do you want me to list it out?
Go ahead.
I don't even know if I could. I have over 850 hours of specialized training.
Did you say over 800?
Over 850.
Okay. And when you say specialized training, specialized in what different areas?
All different areas of forensics. There's multiple different areas. This could be fingerprinting, collection of DNA, blood, shooting. There's multiple areas of forensics.
Okay. And in fact, as late as, what was it, 2017, you took a 40-hour webinar on blood patterns.
It was not on blood patterns. It was on the, what was it? I can refer to my CV of what it's called, but I can't, it wasn't on blood patterns.
Give me just a minute. Do you recall having your deposition taken on February 22nd of 2019?
I don't recall the exact date, but I do remember my deposition.
Okay. Did you swear to tell the truth in that deposition?
I did.
Objection, Your Honor. It's improper at this point.
Sustained.
Is there anything that would help refresh your recollection as to the 40-hour class or webinar that you took in December of 2017?
Yes, my CV would be great.
How about if I showed you your deposition, would that help you recall?
Your Honor,
You can refresh with anything, so
you
you
can
can,
refresh with anything.
you may approach.
Thank you.
It's two different sentences.
Okay.
So it's two different classes.
What are the two different classes?
It was a webinar, but it was only an hour and a half, and it was on like the uncertainty of error rates, I guess you could call it, and then error rate. Sorry.
Your Honor, if we're refreshing recollection, we're not using the predicate for doing that. There was a specific question for which we were refreshing recollection. I asked that we just follow through with that question, otherwise it becomes
Did that
confusing.
refresh your recollection, ma'am?
It refreshed my recollection of how he assumed it was a 40-hour webinar, but it was actually not. Does that make
Okay.
Okay. So what was the 40-hour class?
I've taken multiple 40-hour classes.
But specifically, did you take one on bloodstain pattern analysis?
Yes.
Okay. And ma'am, did you draft a report in this investigation?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And is it fair to say that when you do your documentation and assessing and analyzing, that you tend to be very detail-oriented,
Yes.
very thorough?
Yes.
Okay. And would I be wrong if I said, in this particular case, you took thousands of photographs?
It's a very good estimation.
Okay. You swabbed for the sample, or for the existence of DNA, correct?
Yes.
Took fingerprints all over?
I process for fingerprints.
Process for fingerprints, yes. You used alternate light to detect the presence of blood or other human bodily fluids, correct?
At the scene, I did not.
Okay, did you ever do that?
Have I ever done it in my career?
No, in this case.
I did not in this case.
Okay. You analyzed the splash pattern on the laundry room floor, and you found blood in the laundry tub in this case, correct?
Yes, I did.
Further, you found in the trap of the drain that there was blood residue. Is that correct?
I tested the drain itself.
Okay. And from that, you concluded that the suspect or suspects cleaned up afterwards, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. It calls for a conclusion
Your Honor,
beyond the scope of what one needs. It calls for.
Can I have both sides approach?
back up a little bit. You said you collected multiple samples of blood, is that correct?
I didn't say that before.
Okay. Did you collect multiple samples of blood?
Yes, I did.
Did you have the blood tested at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
The blood was not, no.
The blood was not?
No.
Okay. If the blood was not tested, how can we be sure if any of the blood came from Theresa Sievers?
Objection, improper question, Your Honor. Objection to the form of the question. Calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Ma'am, I'm going to re-ask that question. If we did not test the blood, how can we be sure that it all came from Theresa Sievers?
Then objection, facts not in evidence, Your Honor, that it's Theresa Sievers' blood. This witness has not testified so.
Do you know whose blood it was?
It would depend on the location that you're asking.
You can continue.
Okay. Let's start with where Mrs. Sievers, Dr. Sievers' body was. There was blood there, is that correct?
Correct.
There was a pool of blood, is that correct?
Yes.
Did the blood appear that it was coming from Ms. Sievers or Dr. Sievers' body?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Did you have any of that blood tested for DNA?
No.
Okay. As we move out from Dr. Sievers' body, there was other blood. There were little droplets of blood. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you have any of those little droplets of blood tested for the presence of DNA?
No.
Okay. Did you have reason to believe, given the crime scene and given your training and experience, that that blood belonged to Theresa Sievers?
The blood within the kitchen?
Yes.
I believed it belonged to Theresa.
Okay. And if you didn't, is it fair to say that being detail-oriented, you would have had that tested?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how far away from the body, what was the furthest away from the body that you found blood?
The laundry room.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the garage.
The garage. And where did you find blood in the garage?
There were blood stains on top of the deep freezer as well as on the items removed from a piece of, it wasn't luggage, it was like a bag, a carry bag.
Okay. The blood stain found on top of the freezer, did you have that blood tested?
No.
Okay. So if you didn't have that tested, can you say whose blood that was?
No.
The blood on the items from the bag, did you have that blood tested?
No.
Can you say whose blood that was?
No.
Okay. And finally, the blood that you found in the laundry room tub, did you have that blood tested?
Honestly, I would have to refer to a document I have to see what all was tested.
Do you have your report in front of you?
I have, the document I need is not my report.
Okay. What document do you need?
I need to look through my testing, the things I sent out, the submissions.
Okay. So is it fair to say right now that you're not sure whether or not you had the blood from the sink tested?
There were multiple items tested. I'm not sure if the blood from the tub was one of them.
Okay. And again, you prepared a report in this matter, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And that report was intended to assist the investigators in kind of coming to grips with a large volume of evidence, correct?
Yes.
Do you tend to make your reports as accurate as possible?
Yes.
When you make conclusions in your report, are you assuming, are you guessing, or are your conclusions based upon, one, your training and experience, two, your observations of the crime scene, and three, your measurements and photographs and evidence you've collected?
I would say yes, it's based on the training and analysis I had, or training and experience I had at that time.
Okay, so when you say that the splash pattern on the laundry room laundry room floor and the blood found in the laundry tub and on items around the laundry tub, brush and bucket, indicate that the suspects, and the S's in parentheses, were able to clean up after bloodshed, that you made that conclusion after careful consideration of the evidence that was available to you?
Objection again, Your Honor. Seeking opinion testimony.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes, sir.
So, Ms. Van Waus, again. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Van Waus, just again, you indicated that you found a splash pattern in the laundry room floor and the tub in the laundry room that indicated that there was blood in the sink. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say that my report says that.
Would you like to see your report?
I can explain that portion of my report probably better than you just did.
Okay.
Because the splash pattern that you're referring to on the floor is not a pool of blood. It's an after processing visual that I had later on. There was very minute drops of blood in the laundry room tub. That the splash pattern on the floor that I noted and the blood in this tub, I didn't correlate.
Okay. Is it possible that the suspects were able to clean up after committing the murder?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Without having any of the stains from the blood in the tub or the pattern on the floor tested for DNA, I cannot definitively say that it was cleanup from this incident.
Okay, if that's the case, then why did you include that in your report?
And I did write a sentence in my report that should have included the word may.
Okay, so is it then your report, instead of reading the splash pattern on the laundry room floor and the blood found in the laundry room tub and on items around the laundry tub, brush and bucket, indicate that the suspects were able to clean up after the bloodshed, it should have read that the splash pattern on the laundry room floor and the blood found in the laundry room tub and on items around the laundry room tub, brush and bucket, indicate that the suspects may have been able to clean up after the bloodshed. Is that a better way?
I would put may in front of indicate. May indicate that the
May
suspects.
indicate that the suspects were able to clean up after the bloodshed. Is
So
that-
without testing, I cannot say definitively.
Okay, is there a reason that there was no testing?
Again, I can't tell you that anything was tested because I haven't reviewed my submissions.
Okay. When you were processing the crime scene, you also processed some of the information from the alarm. Is that correct?
What is your definition of process?
On page 9 of your report,
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
did you form a conclusion and make a list of the times and manners in which the alarm was either armed or disarmed from June 25th, 2015, all the way to June 28th of 2015?
I would not call that a conclusion. It's a list.
Okay, but you made a list,
I did.
and you put it in your report,
I did.
and your report's meant to be relied upon by other investigators in the state attorney's office, correct?
Yes.
And you try to make your reports as accurate as possible, is that correct?
With the information that I obtain or receive.
Okay, so where did you get this information about the alarm?
From the panel.
From the panel, so you just looked at the panel, and then you got the information that you put in your report from the actual alarm?
With the assistance of I don't remember the company, but the alarm panel company, the alarm company, they came out and assisted me with documenting the open and closes and the times and the dates and everything from the alarm panel.
Did you have any reason to believe that this information that you put in your report was inaccurate?
Objection, Your Honor. Call it. you know, the witnesses just testified that the information came from an alarm panel company, and now counsel's asking her to comment on their information.
Sustained.
Can we go through how the alarm was both armed and disarmed on June 28th of 2015?
No objection, Your Honor. I think this is outside the scope of this
Both sides
witness's-
approach.
Ready? Thank you, Ms. Van Waus. I want to go back to what we were talking about, the alarm. Okay. You said that you got the information from the alarm panel itself. Is that correct?
With the assistance of statewide, sorry, I forgot the
The alarm
alarm
company.
company.
Okay. So did the alarm company, did they come to the house and sit with you personally, or was it something they did with you over the phone?
They came to the residence and did it with me.
Okay. And were you personally able to observe the alarm panel?
Yes.
Okay. And so in your report, did you formulate your report by looking at the alarm panel and writing down what you saw coming from the alarm panel?
Well, you should also note that it wasn't the alarm panel itself that we were getting the information off of. The alarm company brought a separate panel that they plugged into it to obtain information.
And were you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to get the data that you put in your report from that device?
Yes, I photographed it as well.
Okay, so you photographed it?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you recall with any specificity of when the alarm at the Sievers residence was armed and disarmed on June 28th of 2015?
I would have to refer to my report to list that date and time.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, sir. Page for counsel or?
Thank you.
For the record, you're handing her.
I'm handing her what has been previously marked as page 36,770 of the state's discovery. It appears as if she has a copy of the same in front of her already.
And it's her report.
This is her report.
Ma'am, as soon as you're done reviewing it, it's refreshed your recollection, let us know.
Oh.
She's gonna go off of her report then?
She can go.
It matches.
Yeah, ma'am, is there anything in the report that is in front of you that is different than the page that I just gave to you?
On this page. You
Yes.
don't want me to flip through everything.
Please don't.
It appears to be the same, except for the highlights, of course, in your
You can
state
review,
numbers.
you can review your report, and once you're ready, let us know.
I'll probably have to read off of it, is that okay?
Just if you will look up when you're ready.
You can go one by one if you have
I
to.
think that's what I was wondering, okay. I can read each line if you would like. You said you wanted everything on 6/28/15?
Yep. Well, let's start with the first time that the alarm was either. No problem. Let's start with the first time that the alarm was either activated or deactivated on June 28th of 2015.
Your Honor, I object to the form of the question, not to the information counsel's trying to get out, but the question implies, it has an improper implication in it.
Your Honor, I'm
You
simply,
can just go through the list, ma'am.
Just read
Is that acceptable?
that's fine.
Okay.
So on my report, when I listed everything, the first one for 628 is 628:15 at 6:09 a.m. Opening by user code 03.
Okay. And when was the next time?
The next line is 628:15 at 8:01 a.m. Closing by user code 03, armed and away mode.
Okay. And can you go to the one after that?
628:15 at 4:13 p.m. Opening by user code 03.
And were there any other entries that you were able to find from viewing the device that the alarm company brought with them?
As far as I'm concerned, that was the last entry that the alarm panel or the alarm company told me about.
Okay. You had several photographs. And were you aware if anyone before you arrived at the residence moved any of the things, and when I say anyone, I mean anyone from law enforcement or a first responder or Dr. Petritis? Were you aware if any one of those people moved any item of significance before you were able to capture it on film?
I guess it would depend on what you think is an item of significance.
Okay. Were you aware, or could you tell if anyone moved the body of Dr. Theresa Sievers?
It did not appear that she was moved.
Okay. Did it appear as if anyone tried to scrub away or otherwise diminish any of the blood that was on the ground?
In the kitchen?
Yes.
No.
Did it appear that someone had moved her wallet or any of the documents around her wallet?
I couldn't tell you if it was moved or not, but it didn't scream at me something that it was moved.
Okay. Did it appear, or do you know if anyone moved the dog bowl? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
The one in the doorway?
This one right there. Do you know if anyone moved that before you arrived?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, the record could just reflect he's showing on Exhibit 2.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can I see Exhibit 5D, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ma'am, showing you what's been previously entered as 5D. Do you recall whether or not you found any biological samples such as blood outside the door in that photograph?
I did not collect any blood samples.
Okay. Did it appear that there were any blood samples on the ground outside of that door in Exhibit 5D?
No, and I don't recall seeing any.
Okay. Did you also process the garage?
Again, what's your definition of process?
Did you take photographs?
Yes.
Did you collect samples if you thought that there was some type of biological material?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall if there was a motorcycle in the garage?
Yes, there was.
Okay. And do you recall if anywhere near the motorcycle, if you collected any blood?
No, I did not.
Do you recall if anywhere near or in the vicinity of the motorcycle you collected anything such as sweat? Did you collect any sweat?
Not that no.
Did you collect any saliva?
There was no DNA swabs collected from the area around that motorcycle.
Okay. Did you examine the area around the motorcycle?
Yes.
And after a careful examination of the area around the motorcycle, did you feel that there was a need to take any samples?
I did not see anything that warranted me to take any samples.
Okay. Can I have that document back? Thank you. And, Madam Clerk, may I have Exhibit 18, please?
State still in
Oh, I have
possession
it.
of number 18?
No, I have it.
You have it?
Sorry.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh,
That's where it's hiding. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, ma'am, did you have an opportunity to review this?
Yes?
Okay. And would you agree with me that this document appears to come from the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company?
Yes.
Okay. And just a second. I'm going to give this back to you. How much of that document were you able to review?
I mean, it's multiple pages.
Okay. Did you review each page?
I looked at it, but I didn't document anything or note anything.
Okay. Let me ask you a couple questions about that particular document. Is it fair to say that that document did not come from State Farm?
I guess not.
Okay. Is it fair to say it did not come from Ohio Life?
It's not listed as coming from that. but
Okay. Is it fair to say that it didn't come from Prudential?
It does not appear to be.
Does it appear to come from Jackson Life?
Does not appear to be.
And does it appear to come from the Hartford Insurance Company?
It does not appear to be.
Okay. And can you tell me, kind of the front, would you agree with me, is kind of a cover page?
Yes.
Let's see that. Do you know what the balance of this is?
There's multiple pages, and I don't know what those other pages show.
Okay. Do you know if that purports even to be a life insurance policy?
I would have to look at the document.
Okay. Do you know if it's an automobile policy?
Again, I would have to look at the document.
Do you know if it's a disability policy?
You know, objection, Your Honor, she said she can't answer the questions if she hasn't looked at the document.
Sustained as to asked and answered.
Okay. So again, ma'am, is it fair to say that as you sit there right now, having not reviewed the document, you cannot tell me what type of insurance that document purports to provide?
Correct, I would have to see it.
Okay. Is it further fair to say that you can't tell me who the insurance beneficiary is?
I don't know what's on that document.
Is it further fair to say that you can't tell me who the insured is?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Sustained.
Is it fair to say that when you were photographing and looking at the scene, you're trying to get a picture of what happened, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say that based upon what you reviewed, it was reasonable to believe that a hammer had been used in the murder?
Looking at all evidence on scene, yes.
Okay. Is it further fair to say that you did not document any cast-off?
and I'm going to change a little bit. On scene, I had so much training, and that's what is in my report. But I've had additional training, which all my evaluations are based off training experience. I've had additional training. I would say a different statement now, which I also stated in my depo.
Okay, so, it wasn't what I asked. In your report, you didn't mention any cast-off, is that correct?
I mentioned the lack of cast off.
Okay. And so, if there were cast-off, you would have photographed it, is that correct?
Yes,
And that photograph would have been submitted to evidence, is that correct?
correct.
And then from there, a copy of that photograph would have gone to the state attorney's office, correct?
It should have, yes.
Okay. And so, at the time, you documented a lack of cast-off, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And again, what is cast-off?
Cast off is blood that is released from an object as it's swung through the air, and it could come off either on a forward or backward motion. So it's the force of the object releasing blood from that object being swung.
Okay. And are there times when you, with your training experience, you can look at blood, you can tell direction?
Yes,
Okay. So you're able then to discern the difference as to when blood is coming straight down as opposed to when it's coming at an angle, and maybe not with perfect precision, but kind of get a rough guess as to the velocity, things like that?
I can.
Your Honor, the witness testified that her training has evolved since 2015. So counsel is asking the questions in the present tense for today, and I think the questions maybe need to be directed to the witness's knowledge in 2015.
Well, I think you can ask those questions as to the difference when you get your chance at redirect. Counsel?
Thank you. Ms. Ross asked you, if you went in the office, you said you collected some things, but not everything, correct?
Correct.
There was a lot, right?
There was.
How did you know what evidence should be collected and what evidence should be left behind?
I was actually assisted by detectives and members of the major crimes unit for what was collected.
Okay. So we have a good record then of what was collected, is that fair to say?
Yes.
But we don't have a good record of what was left behind, is that also fair to say?
There's photographs of the office after everything was collected from the residents.
Okay, but you would agree with me that a photograph of a cluttered office is different than some of the receipts that came in, the Walmart receipts and the eye exam receipts, you would agree with that?
I would say a majority of the documents were collected.
Speaking of the Walmart receipts, do you know who purchased those items?
I do not.
So all we really know is that some items were purchased at Walmart, correct?
Yes.
And some receipts were left behind in the office, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You talked a little bit about the Pry Marks. Remember the Pry Marks on the
Yep.
door?
Yes.
Okay. Did you find any flat bars or pry bars or crowbars in, on, or around the Sievers residence on Jarvis?
Yes, I did.
To your knowledge, were any of those pry bars, flat bars, or crowbars tested?
Yes, so they were.
Did any of the pry bars, crowbars, or flat bars tested match the marks left behind on the door?
No, they did not.
Thank you, nothing further.
State?
Thank you, Your Honor. When sweat is dry, what does it look like?
I wouldn't be able to see it unless it left like a film behind or something, but no, it's very hard to see.
FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, can you send them 100 buccal swabs to have them analyze them?
No.
How many buccal swabs can you send to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement at a given time?
We are limited to send only 5 items of evidence to the biology section at Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
So in analyzing a crime scene, do you use your discretion to determine what items to send and what items to not send?
Yes, we have to.
Pry marks on the door, side garage door. Anything strike you about those particular pry marks?
It was mostly
Overruled.
it was mostly the condition of the locking mechanisms that struck me for that door.
Did the pry marks seem like marks that could have popped the lock?
The locking.
Objection, Your Honor, 702.
She can answer if she knows. Overruled.
I'm not an expert in breaking into doors, but I can test.
Objection, 702.
Both sides approach.
Was there any damage to the locking mechanism of the door?
No, there was not. The locking mechanism still worked.
And there's a lower locking mechanism and an upper locking
Objection,
mechanism.
leading.
Overruled.
As to the lower locking mechanism, was there any indication of damage to that mechanism?
Again, both mechanisms still were in working order when I arrived on scene.
Now, because of FDLE's limited analysis of blood, do you sometimes send things out to a private lab for further analysis?
Yes, we do.
Give me one moment, Your Honor. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Defense.
No recross.
Is this witness to be retained by either side?
I'd ask that she stay, Your Honor, in the event that we have some additional evidence.
Ma'am, you're subject to recall. We'll let you know if you need it again. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. I'm going to ask our jurors again not to discuss the case among yourselves with anybody else. Don't look up any of the people or places involved. And it's 5 o'clock almost on the dot, a little bit past, and I'll try to keep my word every day. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:30.
This person or persons left their notes in here. I did not write these. I don't know who did, but you could clearly see that they failed to destroy them.
Please be seated. I will note for the record, when they were leaving, one of our alternates was saying there were notes on the back 2 pages of his pad that looked substantially thick, saying that notes hadn't been destroyed. I don't know if that's, every once in a while you get a juror who writes on the back, and so I guess that might have been missed at another trial, or someone was doodling in it. We'll make sure that when Mr. comes back tomorrow that he can indicate which pages aren't his, and we'll take them out and destroy them, whatever they are. Any objection?
I think, no objection. I think Mr. Bailiff has the
Have you removed the pages that Mr. says aren't his?
Yes, sir, I have.
Thank you. We'll shred them when we're done here today. Anything from the defense with that?
We see the pages?
Well, you have them?
Well,
I'm assuming because every once in a while you get a juror for some unknown reason who writes on like the last page, even though it's a full notebook, and it gets missed since they don't write from the top down. I'm assuming that's what it is.
Exactly what
Judge,
happened.
I'm going to amend that. I don't think either of us have the right to see Mr. Notes, nor do we.
He didn't.
They're not his.
They're not his.
Okay, so he didn't write on the other side of those then?
He didn't
No,
write-
it's
He didn't write anywhere.
basically, this is the pad. His are blank, and the last 2 pages or 2, there were notes on it, and
That's his pad.
it's his pad, and it was the last 2 pages?
Correct.
Someone had written in the back of the notebook for some unknown reason.
I think the only concern, if the court will examine the note and make sure that Mr. Gould wasn't exposed to anything improper, I think that's the only concern. that
It's
the
2
state
pages. I'll look at it right now, and I'll let you know if it's anything of note. Oh, my God. If I can read it. Is Mr. gone already? Really?
It only happened in here.
Yeah, it's not my day. That from the state.
No, Your Honor.
The defense?
No, Your Honor.
See you tomorrow morning, sir. Thank you for letting me know.
This way, sir. Thank you, Mr. Butler.
Please be seated. From reviewing these, I couldn't make it out at first, but these are clearly notes from my last panel with Mr. Rogers. And they look like notes during the deliberations, not during the trial, from the 2 headers in it. 2 headers, yes, ma'am. Now, Mr. said he has not read it, and I believe him. He looked very sincere, and he is definitely a rules follower from my interactions with him. Is there anything else either side thinks we need to do with Mr. at this point?
Nothing from the state?
Nothing from defense, Your Honor.
Okay, and you put this in the file and seal it?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm just trying to figure out if I need to personally look at the others' notepads, which I've told them I will not read their notes, or have them look, and if they see anything in their pads, to let me know and not read it when they come back tomorrow morning.
I think in the abundance of caution, Your Honor, that might be wise.
I concur.
Asking them to look?
Asking them to look.
Ask them to look, and if they find anything, please don't read it, tear it out of your notebook, and give it to the bailiff immediately.
But to let us know and hand it, take them out and hand them to the bailiff. I don't think there's any other notes. We usually are very good at catching all that. It is it's happened before. It's very unusual though in a full notebook that someone will put notes on the last 2 pages. But in the abundance of caution, since it has happened once already, I think we need to do that first thing tomorrow morning. If I forget, by all means, remind me. Anything else either side?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 8:30.